So the Razzball Fantasy Football podcast, but this isn't another random episode of Razzball. We're going to do starts of the week with myself and a co-host who, by the way, I haven't done a show with in a long time. These are bold starts of the week, starting right now on the Razzball Fantasy YouTube channel. That's right, folks. It's Donkey Teeth. I feel like if we were superheroes, and I was like, the bat symbol, like it would be just, we would send up a symbol, it'd just be a donkey, and that's I feel like right now we're done with the cookie cutter takes, folks. We came for the bold takes today, and there's only one man I could think about to do a bold take show with, and that's Donkey Teeth. Go follow him at Donkey Teeth 87. What's going on, DT?
Yeah, actually, I just got off the phone with Gray, and it's in the budget now. We're getting a donkey light that you can shine in the sky. We're not getting paid for the next 5 years, but we're gonna have a light. Yeah,
that's it's like do you watch basketball at all? You like the Kings where they have the beam, raise the beam. The Kings didn't win for a long time. Then they got the beam, and now all of a sudden they're good. So I'm thinking that's what's going to happen here. All our takes are going to be fantastic for the rest of the season now because we have our donkey light. But I'm excited, man. It's going to be fun, man. How have things been? How are you doing, dude?
Good. I love this time of year. Not necessarily the weather, but Thanksgiving football is a week away, and that's just, I don't know. There's just so many good memories of Thanksgiving fantasy football for me.
Oh yeah, and we have Friday. Now it's like 3 games on Thursday. Now we have a Friday game. I mean,
bonus. It's genius, really.
It made, at this point, what were they thinking? It took too long. I would love a second of that.
There should be a Saturday too. Just keep it going.
Well, that's what they do, right? Well, it's football. NCAA football is done. They do Saturday games, which, come on. I mean, the more the merrier. I mean, my fiance hates that. She doesn't want more football. She wants less. So, but that's okay. It is what it is. I haven't told her yet that there's a game on Friday. I'll wait until about 15 minutes before kickoff when I have my pants on, ready to go. All right. So today we're going to be talking about starts of the week. And if you watch our show, we kind of been breaking this down pretty much all year. We do our slot versus wide on Friday. We're still doing that with Ben. But today's show is more bold takes. We're going to talk about current quarterbacks and tight ends outside the top 12 and running backs and wide receivers outside the top 24 that you could start in your lineups this week and it will finish as top 12 or top 24. So we're excited to break this down because these are not going to be your cookie cutter takes. Let's get right into quarterbacks to start, DT. Who is your quarterback start of the week that's outside the top 12 currently?
Yeah, so I'm not sure the parameters of this. What I went with, Bobby, was the top 12 of like the Fantasy Pros expert consensus for this week. I'm not sure if is that what you were kind of going for,
that's
or
cool.
you're talking about the season long?
Or the light's already broken. No, that's cool. Do it. You take it anyway. So you're going against the grain, against the experts. I'm going to go against who are currently ranked in the top 12, but I like it. You go that way. I'll go
gotcha. Okay, cool. So yeah, this week, my quarterback pick, I actually had 2 guys I was debating between, and I'll bring the second one just as kind of a bonus because the first guy plays tonight, and I know we're live, so everyone's probably watching this live, right? But if you're catching this replay, you may have already missed your opportunity to start Joe Burrow tonight against the Ravens. Kind of thesis here, I like to get into the narratives, Bobby. This is what it's all about, trying to figure out what the heck these guys are thinking, what's actually happening, and why people are playing well and not playing well. Joe Burrow, I mean, we know he wasn't healthy. He looked great. It looked like vintage Joe Burrow there against the Bills 2 weeks ago, and he looked good against the 49ers the week before that. So it's like Joe Burrow's back. Last week he did not look great against the Texans. I think it was maybe one of those scenarios that we see all the time in the NFL where he was looking ahead to the whole team. I think was looking ahead to the Ravens, big rivalry game. The Bengals Ravens is always a big thing. It's Thursday night prime time. So I think they were just a little bit off in that game against the Texans. It was a big game for the Texans. They wanted it more. And I think we see Joe Burrow come back tonight against the Ravens and just kind of go off. And it's always a little bit risky, right? Because Thursday they're on short rest and these games are just typically a shit fest. But I'm going a little bit off the you're not supposed to say off the reservation anymore. Sorry, that's politically incorrect,
I just
Bobby.
did it anyway, though.
I couldn't stop. It was like somebody told me that on Reddit. We were just talking about Reddit. I got crucified like 2 years ago on Reddit for saying it, and now I try to get it out of my vocabulary because it makes sense. But yeah, I'm going off the beaten path here and going Thursday night quarterback with Joe Burrow.
I was thinking about this today was, how they do, used to be style for sitting, and now it's crisscross applesauce. That's what they say now, right?
No, gotcha. You were saying style Indian. Yeah. You didn't want to say it. Yeah.
Right. I'm trying my best to be PC. But did they ever do for like giver? How like if you take something back, is there something that you call that? Is there a new term for that? If you know that, leave a comment. Let us know what the new term is because I don't know what it is. I was just curious. It's just funny you brought that up because I was thinking about this. I don't know why, like 3 hours ago. But anyway, you have a second one, right? If it's not Joe Burrow, who's your second guy?
Oh yeah. Brock Purdy is the other one going up against the Buccaneers, and these guys, they're expert consensus, I should say. Burrow was 13 and Purdy was 12, so I'm slightly higher on him. Purdy didn't even qualify per your parameters. I think you gave me top 12. So I guess that
one
was
job, DT. You had one job.
Burrow. He was one outside the top 12. Burrow.
Simple rules that can't even be followed. Unreal. I technically, based on format, broke my own rules too with mine, and it's Jared Goff because there's some formats where he's 12th, somewhere he's 14th. So I get it. I broke the rules too. It's fine. It's so funny too because in my big league I have Goff and Purdy. So thank you for saying that because now I just going to fill my head with more nonsense. But currently, so against the Bears, he's got the Bears this week at home. And first of all, we all know the theme with home Goff. But the matchup itself is fantastic. Number one, because the Bears are one of the better run defenses in football now. And they're a pass funnel defense. And they allow the third most passing yards this season, second most passing touchdowns. And Jared Goff at home this season has been absolutely pretty much lights out except for one game, QB5, QB14, QB4, and then he was QB22 against the Raiders when they blew the doors off them at home. So I also like the fact that Justin Fields is going to be there. Justin Fields only pushes the floor up in this game. It means that the Bears will probably be more competent, maybe be able to score more points, which is going to force the score up a little bit too. Last season at home, Goff was QB7 against the Bears. So I really do like that a lot as well. Let's jump down to the running back starts of the week, DT. What do we got for you here?
Moving a little bit faster here. Darrell Henderson is outside the expert consensus top 20. No surprise, right? He's been terrible the last 2 weeks. It's been, he is sharing with Royce Freeman, which is a little bit of a surprise to me, to be honest. But also 2 terrible game scripts for the Rams in the last 2 games. So there just hasn't been a whole lot of opportunity playing from behind against the Packers. Shockingly, right? They got smoked by the Packers. They just haven't looked right, and they got whooped by the Cowboys 2 weeks ago. So I think Henderson comes back here against the Seahawks. They've given up a lot of big plays over the past couple weeks. The Seahawks have, and some of those have been through the air to running back. So I think Henderson is the guy that Stafford will lean on a little bit more through the air out of the backfield. And the Seahawks are a little bit vulnerable to those type of check down plays. So look for him to take advantage and finish the week in the top 20 running backs, I think.
Yeah, I like the Henderson call too, mostly because that Stafford's back. And in the last the week before that, Stafford was out. Then he was out he missed half the game the previous week. And I think Henderson they're like, all right, Royce Freeman can take some more burn here. But when it comes down to it, what they want Henderson for is pass pro. And with Stafford back in the lineup, that means he'll be in the lineup. And I agree, the Seahawks have sprung a leak. Let's talk about mine here really quick. It's Devin Singletary. I'm riding the hot hand. Dameon Pierce, back-to-back DMPs. It looks like he's probably not going to play this week. And now he gets a smash spot against the Arizona Cardinals defense. Arizona, top 4 matchup in our adjusted line yards matchup metric, which you can find on Razzball.com. He's also 3rd most fantasy points given up to running backs this season. That's the Cardinals, 4th rushing yards, and one of 4 teams to allow 10-plus rushing touchdowns. So I got to love that. Last week, Singletary, 30 carries for 150 yards and a touchdown. So with no Dameon Pierce, you got to like that a lot. Any thoughts about Singletary before we move on to wide receivers?
It was a bit of a surprise to me. I wish I hadn't dropped him in one of my leagues. But yeah, I think, is Pierce going to be back this week? Do we know if Pierce is going to be back this week?
DMP on Thursday, so we'll see. Gotcha. I mean, he still has a Friday practice to go, but right now it looks like he might not be
doubtful. Back. Probably, yeah, close to doubtful, probably, yeah. I like it. I like the call, yeah.
All right, let's jump down to wide receivers. DT, what do you got here?
My man George Pickens. I can't quit him. He's so good. I don't know if they would just get him the ball. If they had a quarterback that was competent, I think George Pickens. I think we'd be talking about him like with Garrett Wilson right now, that kind of a range. And Garrett Wilson doesn't have a quarterback to throw it to him either, but that's the type of talent that he is.
I don't like to beat on the Jets right now. It's just been, as a Giants fan, I can't, number one, because we're in a much worse spot. But also, like, I just wanted them to give them Aaron Rodgers, and then they take 4 snaps in, DT. 4 snaps in. That's cruel. That's cruel for the Jets.
Yeah. So Pickens, yes, the parameters here were outside the top 24 for my wide receiver. So Pickens, expert consensus is 40 right now. So most people aren't starting Pickens if you're going off of that. Even in like a 3 wide receiver league, maybe you swap him in there at flex, but he's the home run threat. Any given game, we know Pickens can bust that 80-yard touchdown. And then the Browns, their defense is pretty good, right? But they've given up a lot of big pass plays. So 1+1 here, Pickens is the big play threat. I love Pickens, first of all, right? And now he's going up against a defense that has had a tendency to give up those big plays. So I think we see one of those home runs from Pickens this week, and he catches, a 40+ yard touchdown and on a lot of people's benches, except mine.
All right. Listen, with the Browns quarterback situation, I'm a little worried that game's going to be really ugly. Like, it could just be like one of those AFC North games where it's like 13-12, like something like crazy like that. So, but you know what? Today's show is not cookie cutter starts of the week. It's bold takes, my friend, and I like it. So mine is actually just as bold. It's Romeo Doubs. I'm getting romantic here. I wrote in my column today about wide receiver starts. I wrote about how we haven't talked enough about Jordan Love and Romeo Doubs. I mean, like, at this point, I feel like Juliet with that whole scenario. I mean, it's just Love, Romeo Doubs. They should be better than they are. That's all I know. But anyway, let's talk about matchups. It's not just about a gut feeling and romance. The matchup against the Chargers are 9th most fantasy points allowed out wide. By the way, if you go to our slot first wide tool for free on Razzball.com, we break out the fantasy points in the slot and out wide allowed by defense. So it's a great tool for your start sits. The other thing I love about this is that the Chargers have allowed the most air yards this season. So they have faced a ton of air yards, and that's really how they use Dobbs and Christian Watson. If you look at their ADOT versus their yards after the catch, they both are much higher up in ADOT. So 86% of Dobbs' routes are run out wide, which is good for the matchup. And he's, I'm sorry, my notes got 100% of his fantasy points have been out wide the last 5 weeks. So that's huge. Like 100% of it in the last 5 games. 100% of his fantasy points come out wide, 86% of his routes. That's good for the matchup. He's 32nd among 103 wide receivers in average depth of target. So he's a high ADOT player. Playing outside against the Chargers defense, it's a recipe for success. I like that a lot. DT, let's jump down to tight ends. What do you got for this position?
I just picked this guy because the name's so fun. Chigoziem Okonkwo. You gotta love it, right? The Jaguars have been terrible defending tight ends. Kittle had a big game against them last week. Hayward had a decent game against them. And then we saw Taysom Hill and Foster Moreau combined for like 100 yards against their defense. So the Jaguars are pretty soft. Okonkwo has been getting quite a bit of targets over the past 5 weeks. He's hasn't had less than 4 in any one of those games. He had a game of 9 targets. He's just not putting a ton of numbers up there right now, and he hasn't found the end zone this season. So no better time than a soft matchup against the Jaguars. And this was a tight end that I needed to select outside of the consensus top 12. So Chigazaimo Okonkwo is my man.
I like it. Chig, by the way, just to bring up DT's point with the Jags, there's only 3 teams in the NFL that are over 150% over expectation. So that's the Jags defense against tight ends, the Texans, and the Buffalo Bills. So if you're expecting to get 10 points against the Jags as a tight end, you get 15. That's how bad they are at stopping tight ends. So I like that call a lot. Mine's Trey McBride. Currently, he's probably a top 12 ECR tight end, but he's currently way outside. He's a guy you probably got off waivers just over the last few weeks. The Texans are the best matchup against for tight ends. They've allowed the most fantasy points to tight ends this season. He's coming off his first game with Kyler Murray, 8 for 131 and 0. And in 2022, Kyler Murray with Zach Ertz, he was the tight end 6. So Kyler likes throwing to his tight ends. The offense is very good for tight ends this season, and I absolutely love the matchup. I think he's an auto start. I think outside of like the big guys like Travis Kelce, Mark Andrews, I don't think you can get much better than Trey McBride this week. I am all in. All right, DT, let's talk some streamers before we close out the show. You got any kicker or defensive streamers you want to throw out here?
No, I don't have any kicker takes.
I got one.
Defense, you told me outside the top 10. You told me outside the top 10 for defense. And of course, I was going expert consensus. The Jets have the Bills this week. I think everybody knows the Jets have just a monstrous defense this year. They're fun to watch, to be honest. Typically we get the Jets games, right? It's like, oh no, the Jets are playing, but I'm actually excited to see their defense, especially going up against good teams like the Bills. So another shot for the Jets against the Bills. They're number 13 right now in the ECR. So I'm just going with really good defense. Like, I think the Jets are so good that you can't bench them in any matchup. They can score on any given play. You just got to start the Jets defense. I don't know how the experts are ranking them outside of the top 10, to be honest.
Especially with the Bills struggling a little bit, right? They got the new OC change now to Joe Brady. That could be huge too. I like the Dolphins a lot. I think that's kind of an easy one against the Commanders against the Jets. If you're looking for more of a dart throw, I like the Vikings against the Broncos. The Vikings defense has been very good under Brian Flores the last few weeks. They get after the quarterback. Russ is prone to making bad decisions from time to time. So if you couldn't get the Dolphins, the Commanders, the easy ones, I actually don't mind the Vikings. And my streamer kicker of the week, Jason Myers. We're going back to the well after a big week last week, folks. So go get him in your lineups. We do have a couple questions before we close out the show. DT, are you good on time or do you need to run?
Yeah, we can do a couple questions.
All right. First question we got here from the Schmitty. By the way, welcome back. New viewer who joined us on our Tuesday show, which was an absolute doozy, by the way. 2.5 hours of just constant questions. It was a crazy show. Great time. Would you trade Alvin Kamara and Nico Collins for A.J. Brown and Raheem Mostert? What's your thoughts here?
Can you say it one more time?
Alvin Kamara, Nico Collins for A.J. Brown and Raheem
Mostert. Yeah, I want A.J. Brown. Yeah, I want A.J. Brown there. Honestly, I think even without Mostert, I would probably take the A.J. Brown side. He's my top wide receiver right now.
It's close. This is a good deal. I actually think I lean A.J. Brown. I know the Mostert situation is a little cloudy with Devon A-Chain coming back, but the Nico Collins situation with Noah Brown emerging a little bit here now and Tank Dell, and you still got Dalton Schultz there too. I think I'm okay with the A.J. Brown Mostert side as well. I like that call, DT. I'm going with you. All right, Jamie's jumping into the chat. Jamie, always a pleasure. Sure, what's going on, man? Glad to have you back in on the show here. We also have a sports spotlight, by the way. Hey, welcome to the show, Sports Spotlight. We appreciate you being on. Start 2, Zay Flowers, Noah Brown, Marquise Brown, and Trey McBride in PPR. Now, Noah Brown is trending in the wrong direction. Back-to-back DNPs. Might not be active this week, so keep that in mind as well. What's your thoughts, TT?
I think I'm definitely starting Hollywood Brown from this group. Gosh, these Thursday night games are so tough. I think I might go with you and the Trey McBride call. and bench Zay Flowers, start Marquise Brown and Trey McBride.
Yeah. I am actually going to go with McBride and Zay Flowers. I like that. The Cincinnati's dealing with some injuries up front right now, and I think he's going to have a decent game. So I'm going to go Zay Flowers, Trey McBride. Getting a little weird there. I like it. The Smitty back again. Trade Ferguson for James Cook. I think this is going to probably be roster dependent, right?
Yeah,
exactly. But just in a vacuum, would you make this deal? If you have another tight end.
Yeah, I mean, I'd rather have Cook. Yeah. I'd rather have Cook than 2 tight ends. And if you can pick up a tight end even, I'd consider that too. I think Cook has a little bit higher value than Ferguson.
Yeah, I agree. I just heard 10,000 noodles, by the way. And by the way, 10,000 noodles, we appreciate you going above and beyond. If you stop at 1,000, you're not even going to be asking these kind of questions. So I like that. I just heard crisscross applesauce for the first time earlier today. WTF. See? That's what I'm talking about, man. There's
no coincidences.
There isn't. We're glad you're here, buddy. That just means you're going to subscribe to the Razzball Fantasy YouTube channel and jump over to razzball.com. We got great content over there as well. Peter John, what's going on, man? Good to have you on. We have a Thursday night question here. We have Henderson, which is DT start of the week, bold take, and then Keaton Mitchell as his RB2. What's your thoughts here?
I'd go Henderson. Yeah, I like Keaton Mitchell, and I think when I came on that show with the Sunday morning show, the 1 week that I came on the Sunday morning show with you guys, I brought up Keaton Mitchell. I brought it up in the podcast with B-Don. He told me I was crazy. So I feel like a little bit vindicated that Keaton Mitchell has gone off a couple weeks now. But it's still a little bit of a mess with Gus Edwards. So I'm still not excited to start Keaton Mitchell at this point. I think that he could take it over. But then you still got Lamar Jackson. It's also Thursday night, which is, again, always a headache. So I'll go with Henderson.
Peter, I got bad news for you, buddy. I'm trusting DT, and I'm going to go with Mitchell because I like the matchup. Both defensive ends for the Bengals are banged up. One's not playing, one isn't. I like it. I think DT was on to something early, and I trust the man. Okay, I put the spotlight up for a reason today, folks. I'm going with your gut there, DT. All right,
Donkey Light is in production.
Yeah. Can't wait. I can't wait. Our budget's all over the place. We don't have budget for things we actually need, but when it comes to Donkey Lights, we have it. We have the budget. It's totally fine. All right, we got Pickens versus the Browns. Isn't gonna do much this week. Calling you out here, little Jamie, saying that Pickens is gonna be, a little shaky. The best part too is DT. We're gonna see how that goes. But Jamie, now you're on the hot seat, buddy. If Pickens goes off, we're going to need answers, my friend. We're going to need answers. Daniel, what's going on, sir? Good to see you as well. The Browns vulnerable to the slot. So there's that more Deontay this week. Actually, Jamie, if you want to answer your own question, what we did is we actually created fantasy points scored slot versus out wide. So if you want to go check that out, Deontay and Pickens don't play a ton in the slot. Allen Robinson gets most of those snaps. Those guys are probably closer to 75-80% of their production out wide, both of them. But what we did is we actually created a tool, Jamie. You can check it out. Fantasy points scored on razzball.com by receiver. And you actually can see who will benefit the most from that. I like that as well. Daniel's got another question here. McBride or Kincaid? DT, what do you got?
I'll go McBride. I think you're right on McBride.
I think so too. Man, Kincaid's really good too, though. That's rough. I'm going to go McBride. I'm all in. I'm doing it. That's it, folks. We've gone off the rails. Daniel, last question. What do you think about the Jets versus Buffalo versus the Steelers versus the Browns with DTR? Are you still going Jets in this scenario, or are you going to play the Steelers against the Browns' backup QB?
I actually like the Steelers more. As much as I said you don't sit the Jets defense, I think that this is a really good matchup for the Steelers.
Like it. That's what I'm saying, folks. That's why you come with the questions, because you know what? There's always context around everything, and that's why I agree. I'm going to go Steelers with the backup Browns QB. By the way, I want to thank my co-host today. It's Donkey Teeth. Go follow him, Donkey Teeth 87. DT, you had your rest of season rankings dropped this earlier this week. Any insight you want to give to the people? Anything that stood out to you when you did your rest of season rankings?
I mean, there's some really good wide receivers this year. AJ Brown, I did not expect AJ Brown to be this good. Like I said, AJ Brown is now my top ranked wide receiver. He jumped Tyreek Hill this week, so go check it out. I think it's always league dependent how you're ranking these positions together. But Rudy has helped us create some really cool pages where you can type in the position. So like we've got them all ranked together, top 200, and then you can type in running backs and get your list, rest of season running back, rest of season wide receiver. And it's really, you can search for player and see where they popped up. I really like what he's done with those tools.
Oh, they're fantastic. We got a bunch of those over there too. We got our top 150 preseason. Go check it out over on Razzball.com. And make sure you subscribe to the Razzball Fantasy YouTube channel. Go jump over to IG and TikTok. And of course, make sure you join us on Sunday, folks. We have our Sunday live start sit show for 2 hours. We're answering all your start sit questions every single Sunday live on the Razzball Fantasy YouTube channel. DT, thank you once again, my friend. It was great to join. And I'm Bobby LaMarco, your host. Go follow me at Bobby LaMarco on Twitter. We are out of here, folks.